Sunday's Talking Reds. My name is Mo Stewart, and my matching buddy today, we just literally just noticed, is Rob Gutmann.
Yeah, we are.
I like that jumper.
It's a happy accident, isn't it, Mo?
Yes. So yeah, it's the international break, as you're well aware. It's a bit of a slow news week as well. We had all of the Klopp celebrations yesterday. Not really much happening. So we're going to talk a little bit about the international break and the nature of our players coming back and how it's better than usual. But we want to dive in a little bit more existentially on this show because, I mean, the two of us here, it's kind of what we like doing anyway.
Way existential.
Way existential. So we'll be doing that in the second part of the show, talking about what it means to be this far ahead, this early, to us as fans, our rivals, and the people we're playing week in, week out. We'll also have a little slip from the second look show that we recorded yesterday. But first, let's start with international break, Rob. And you noticed this before I did. It's actually a much better schedule for us than it normally is in terms of when players are coming back from far-flung lands.
Yeah, I think I've mapped where most of our boys are. There's a Thursday game for the Dutch, I think, and the Brazilians. If I'm rough, I'll be roughly right. By about 24 hours, the Dutch and the Brazilians, I think, play Thursday, Sunday. So that affects Virgil van Dijk, Gini Wijnaldum, Firmino, Fabinho, not Alisson this time, and the English contingent play Friday, Monday, I think. So that affects Jordan, Trent, Gomez. Is he in the squad?
Yes, he is.
Not Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, but there's how many have I name checked? Six or seven of our lads there. The main seven who will be away will be done and dusted by Monday evening, and we don't kick off till the following Sunday.
No.
So normally we're looking at Bobby Firmino getting off a plane Thursday night, kicking off 12:30 Saturday morning. You know, it's all kinds of madness. In which case, in fact, more often than not, Klopp decided not to pick Firmino.
Exactly.
Last time out, Newcastle, he picks Origi to start. So, you know, touch wood they don't get injuries because that would sort of negate all these good tidings. But it's better set up for us.
It makes a difference.
And for everyone. But, you know, we're better, so it matters more.
Yeah, obviously. But no, it really does make a difference. And one of the things I noticed as well is Sadio Mane is playing against Brazil. Because initially, when we saw that Brazil were playing against Senegal and Singapore, everyone was a bit like,
what the fuck?
Yes, literally exactly what I was going to say. Thank you. But now, as soon as we know that that's on Thursday, literally tomorrow, and that's Sadio's only game of the break as well, so that's fantastic news. You can look at the Brazilians in particular and say, yes, they're going a lot of miles, Fabinho and Firmino, and they are two of our most important players when you think about it. But like you say, with them being back so much time, there's still time for them to rest, recuperate, and still a little bit of training ahead of Man United.
Yeah, and if there's any little strains and niggles, there's also a fair bit of recovery time. We don't want that to happen. But I think it kicks off 1 p.m. English time on Thursday, that game. LFC TV, madly. I won't plug in them here, but why not? Thanks, guys. Yeah, they're showing it live. Isn't that mad?
That is kind of mad.
So should we take the afternoon off? It's really exciting. I know it's only a friendly, but it's a good game to watch, that Senegal-Brazil.
Yeah, the two potentially good teams. So yeah, maybe some content in there watching. But I mean, obviously, with an international break, the main concern for it is that everyone, as you said, comes back fit, firing and healthy. And we're in a situation where that's a lot more likely now. So fingers crossed. In terms of how that would shake up for the team against Manchester United, as I say, it does look like they're not going to have, fingers crossed, any kind of injury issues. Do you think some of the guys who have been forcibly rested by their countries, I'm thinking Oxlade-Chamberlain, I'm thinking maybe even Naby Keita, who's been on a rest, they might be having a better position to come into the starting lineup for a game like Man United?
Don't know. I think because of the gap, I think he's likely to go full tilt. There's Genk, Henk away in the week. I'm sort of penciling Naby in for a start there. The only thing I think he could be tempted by is James Milner from the Champions League final team, which is the one. Look, we're hoping Alisson is back and ready and starts. That would be nice. It'd be nice that he's fully fit. I think there's a chance he's tempted by Milner. Milner was so impressive against Leicester.
He was.
Klopp likes to reward those who are very impressive. Milner always is worthy of a start. I could see him. I think if Henderson and Wijnaldum both played 2 games, even though there's this gap, I think you could say I could take something out of their legs, you know, especially as you might want to bring them on later on. Having said that, it's Man U. It's a top 6 game away from home. You don't.
It's barely a top 6 game.
Well,
historically,
it's a derby then. Yeah. It's a derby. I mean, I would say the same if it was Everton, who was shit as well.
Yeah,
as well. Feels so good, doesn't it, my boys? So yeah, he's got to go strong. And I think if he wants to make a couple of tweaks, he then does for Henk away. You then probably go strong at Spurs, and then we've got Henk at home. Oh, no, sorry, we then got the League Cup game the following week for wholesale changes.
Yeah. Now, that's a little bit of a preview of the overview show that we'll be recording later. So those of you on our subscription audio service, listen out for that. In the meantime, we're going to give you something else from our subscription service. It's a recording of the second look of our fantastic win against Leicester, and here it is now.
We've got to chat about James Milner, Andy, and it was as though, to me, that performance was as though he's just been getting revved up for the last 2 or 3 weeks in order to come and, frankly, really help Fabinho, really help Wijnaldum, provide so much energy, and then in the last minute of the game provide all that coolness.
I think he's enjoying himself as well, but he does give you that reassurance. I thought where he really stood out was Fabinho. Once Fabinho was on a yellow, I think he tried to take as much off him as he could. I think it's Fabinho who kind of loses. He's involved in the goal, and you'd expect Fabinho to dive in, and then he couldn't because you think it's a red, and then Leicester score. But yeah, I mean, from Mane's goal to the penalty at the end, and keep it brief, but just calmness personified. And I think being back in midfield as well, because he's been kind of moved around a little bit. But no, I had them pegged for man of the match, to be quite honest. No, fantastic from him. And just what you're used to as well.
I enjoyed the little bits of him fancying himself. I'm very pleased with the celebration. I like the fact that he gives the big one after Fulham last season. It is just a penalty, but it's as though he's saying, I'm the man for the big moments, I'm the man for the big game. And I think he shows that right the way through the 90 minutes. He's definitely the best midfielder on show in a battle with Sadio Mane as to whether or not he's the best player.
It's funny, I thought he was poor first 30, and I thought, I might be wrong, but I certainly remember a couple of loose passes, and I thought he's struggling to get to grips with it here, and I was thinking, is it a case of, are we seeing toward, the end of James Milner, if you like, or is it a case of because he hasn't been playing very much recently? But I thought he was kind of struggling to kind of assert himself on the game, but then he gets that brilliant assist, and I think he doesn't look back from there. And what he does, as you guys have sort of, alluded to, is that he reads a game so well, and his leadership skills are so good that he just always seems to know where he needs to be.
There you go, a little snippet of a second look for you. Now, obviously, if you want to see more of that, you can download our app for free. You get some tokens to be able to test out and try all of the little things we have out there, and any of them that you may find interesting. Now, I know that one was one that was very interesting, because obviously we won the game, but there's plenty of stuff out there, including the European show, which I recorded last week. That's very good, by the way, well worth your attention.
Do you host that now?
I do host, co-host it, myself and Rebecca.
Okay.
It's the new format. So all of you who've been calling for the European show, it's back. Go out and find it. It's my little plug there.
I look forward to it.
Good.
What's it about, Mark?
It's about European football.
Oh, yeah, European football,
yes,
you say?
Yes, the wide spectrum.
Sounds good. Sounds good, yeah. No, I know, I'm being glib. It's a very good show. I was trying to get you to plug it more there.
Oh, well, we've got Rafa Honigstein, we've got Emanuele Guglielmelli and Jonathan Johnson from Ligue 1, if you want me to plug it some more.
No, that's great.
Is that
you whet my appetite.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
All right. Speaking of appetites, Liverpool have had a rampant appetite for winning football games, and so far it's allowed us to be 8 points clear of the Premier League after 8 games, which is fantastic. Mostly. No, it is fantastic, but we have to be aware of the fact that there are some problems or obstacles that come with being so far ahead. In the same way as it's more money, more problems, sometimes it's more points, more problems. So we wanted to look at this in a more existential way and look at how you view being so far ahead so early on through the prism of us as fans. We want to talk about it from the perspective of our rivals, or should we say rival, because there really is only one, and of the teams who are facing us week in, week out, who are all looking to take the scalp of the leaders. Now, I call you Grandad title race because you've seen quite a few of them, and you're probably one of the few people around who remember what it was like when we were this far ahead, this early before. So as a fan, what do you think is the main difference between being in a situation where you're level, you're doing well, but there's no pure advantage to being there to be shot at, having something to lose, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what I'm thinking about? My title experience, actually direct one, really being into it, starts in the 78-79 season. So there's quite a lot between there and the last one in 90s, virtually every single year. But actually, there's as many where we were cast in City's role, it feels like, as we were cast in our role. Usually those Liverpool sides, if they led from the front, they stayed at the front. There was one very famous example of a team that led from the front and didn't stay from the front, which everyone cited in my youth for years to come, which was Ron Atkinson's Man U side, which threatened to take over from Liverpool's mantle as the main team in the land. It's the beginning of the 85-86 season. Liverpool actually end up as double winners.
Yes.
Everton finished narrowly second. But Man United, who finished fourth that year, had started that season with 10 straight wins.
10?
So 30 points. And then they won rock all after that. But it's a cautionary tale. Having said that, they sort of come from nowhere. I mean, they'd bought big that summer, but they hadn't got the mounting pedigree this Liverpool side had. I mean, because they were Man U, you can imagine how the media took it, how hysterical the media are about United's current demise. They were positive about how well United were doing then. So for the rest of us, when United fell off that cliff, it was hugely enjoyable. And also a sign that they would never, ever do it. That didn't work. But anyway, the thing was, when Liverpool were in front, because we knew they knew the ropes, there was a confidence that they would push on. But these are different times now. The teams, Liverpool and City, between them, have both gone at 98, 99, 100 point rates. So you can't count anything. What was an 8-point gap in 5-10 years ago is between Liverpool and City. What is it equivalent to in percentage terms? It's smaller.
It is small.
The interesting phase we're about to hit, and then we're going to cover this in the overview show we're doing, is that Liverpool are about to play 2 tricky fixtures. The City would hope to close the gap. They would hope Liverpool will drop points. The fear for City is if Liverpool don't, if Liverpool use the confidence and form we're on, then God help City, because then that gap could widen.
So let's talk about that then. I mean, the main games against Man United and Tottenham, just to use those as an example. Obviously, we were aiming for 6 points. I think most people would be okay with 4 points. But imagine if we took 2 points. 2 draws in those games, and City then did the requisite and they got 6 points. So then the gap was halves. It was 2 points.
Madly, what a great gap that still is. Exactly. That shows you what a good gap 8 is.
Yeah, but you can already imagine how the psychology would be different amongst us fans. I mean, my major issue with being this far ahead this early is it's a long way to go. And if we look back to previous title races, there's been times where people have overreacted at small little falters here and there. And then when you look at what happened in the title race last season, you can argue that some of those small falters are actually bigger than we thought they were at the time. So in terms of being able to enjoy in the moment as a fan and not get too neurotic over every single misplaced pass or maybe dropped point, what do we have to do to remind ourselves that we're actually in that good position?
I don't know. You'd say, can we calm down with an 8-point lead a bit? Because it's suddenly not as must-win, Man United. I tell you, if you go back 2 weeks or 3 weeks before, say, that Norwich upset City's apple cart, but even after then, when our lead was narrow, you go, everything's a must-win. Oh God, we're not beating Sheffield United at half-time. What a tragedy, you know. Now it feels like if we troop out of Old Trafford, I wouldn't like to be beaten specifically because that would feel mildly demoralising as much as anything. But if it was a draw, then no one should beat themselves up about it. The Liverpool should get up, go again. The one thing is, City can claw us back. But if I was Klopp, I'd be saying to the players, but they can stumble.
They can.
And just right now, they're looking stumble-worthy.
They're looking a lot more stumble-worthy, I'm going to take that word, than we are. And I want to move on to them now and talk about from their perspective, because how much do you feel like our late winner played a part in their game against Wolves the next day? The idea that Liverpool got away with it again, they sneaked that last-minute goal just when they thought they were going to drop points, and then you go into your game against a tough opponent who have quality but have, a lot of intention in terms of stopping you playing rather than going out there and doing it yourself. We don't very rarely get to half-time and City haven't scored at home. So when I saw that they hadn't scored, I was surprised. Do you feel like we are starting to affect them and them on the pitch, not just in Guardiola's press conferences?
Yes and no, to be vague. There's a degree to which they are well used to our relentlessness now, just as we are to theirs. It's not a surprise that we won. It's not a surprise that we found a way to win. They went into the weekend expecting Liverpool to beat Leicester.
That's true.
They expected to beat Wolves. They thought Wolves are a decent mid-table side in poor form, and therefore they would have expected to beat Wolves comfortably. I do think now City have got a problem and another psychological test to overcome. They faced it this time in early January last year and overcame it with flying. Well, actually, they didn't overcome it straight away with flying colours because they recovered after they gave up a 7-point lead to us in December, early Jan. Won a couple of games, but then lost at Newcastle.
Yeah.
In a way, what then I think reinvigorated them was Liverpool stumbling. I know. I'm not actually talking, but actually after beating us. They then win 2 league games and then lose at Newcastle. At that point, we then had Leicester the next night. Guardiola has said we expected Liverpool to win that, reopen the 7 points, and we thought that was it. He's more or less confessed that.
Wow.
So I think we're on this sort of cusp at the moment where they're incredibly nervous that Liverpool won't let up. They're an interesting side. Have you noticed, if you go back the points they've dropped in the last year, last season, they only draw twice, don't they? They draw with us and Wolves.
Yes.
But the other 4 games they drop points in, they lose. They lose to Leicester, they lose to Newcastle, they lose to Palace, and they lose to Chelsea. This season, okay, they drew with Spurs, but they don't just get a crappy draw with Norwich or Wolves. They lose and concede goals doing so. So they have this sort of combust, self-destruct element to them, which we have to hope comes again. I mean, it came in bursts last season. Let's hope for one more of these.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, I mean, you can look at it and say that the problems that are causing some of these defeats at the moment haven't been solved and aren't going to be solved in the near future, because obviously you look at the central defence at the moment, it looks a mess. And even if you consider Fernandinho is still actually probably the best central defender they've got at the moment, Rodri is still not quite used to doing what Fernandinho does, so it's not quite. I mean, when you looked at the game against Wolves, Rodri was arguably a bigger problem than any of the centre halves, because he was the one caught between 2 stools of whether to go out and press or whether to sit deep, and that was what was allowing the space for Wolves to go around them. Now, not every team is going to have the quality of Wolves to get around them, but there feels more like a blueprint to beating them now than there was previously.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing that I don't think has been focused on. People go, but Liverpool blew a lead before. Well, Liverpool didn't blow a lead before. City went and won 15 straight matches. And Liverpool won something like 12 out of the equivalent 15. It's not blowing a lead, that. The difference here now is Liverpool and City, as things stand, this is a City team with problems it didn't have last time. Last time it dropped points before recovering, there was nothing wrong with the team. It had a couple of mental blips.
Yes.
This team is being exploited for those reasons you've said. It almost doesn't have a defence at the moment, so it relies very much on keeping the ball. But other teams are now seeing that. We hope Palace will test this theory. We think they're well equipped to. Of course, City are more than equipped to just go there and roll them and 4-0 it. But no one will be surprised if they give them a game. They are vulnerable. De Bruyne's a worry for them again. He may be fit after the international break. He may not. We'll see. The wins are with us.
And like you say, teams like Palace are going to go into it with renewed vigour. Not Palace in particular, obviously, because they beat them last season. But I feel like there's going to be a few more teams who are thinking, well, we've got a few attacking players who can go into them. And I feel like we should probably talk about our rivals now, because we're in a slightly different position. I feel like we're at that stage now that we are so consistent that teams are starting to think of damage limitation against us. Sometimes you might even get managers not necessarily picking their strongest team against us. Do you think we're going to see more of that, or do you think we're going to see more of the fact that because we've become such a scalp to be able to get a result against us, teams are going to be more motivated to try?
I think the clear statistic is Liverpool have lost 1 Premier League football match in the last year and a quarter. So having the ambition to beat Liverpool, seeing Liverpool as beatable is not an easy thing. Leicester were a good, buoyant, confident team coming to Anfield, but they played like a team who didn't want to be beaten, who didn't want to be the next lambs to the slaughter. I thought they'd be more ambitious. They weren't. I thought they were quite defensive. Okay, they came out and Brendan says we had to go. They did. the stats of their
They scored their only
expected
shot on target.
They score their only shot on target. I think that's what you see, just teams becoming more and more conservative. I don't think, it depends which tier of sides you're talking about. Of the three, say there's the bottom, the middle and the top 6 or 7, the top 6 or 7 I think play like Leicester do, and we've seen Arsenal play, which is we will be very conservative. If we've got some assets on the break, we'll look to test Liverpool that way, but we will sit back. And I think, God, United are the next example, Tottenham the next example. I don't think they're going to try and suddenly throw a mad Salzburg attacking move on us.
Well,
hope they do.
It's interesting you mentioned Salzburg, because there's been a lot of talk about the defence and the fact that we've not keeping as many clean sheets as previously. But Salzburg managed to score 3 goals, still got beat. Everyone maybe seems to be able to score a goal against us, but that's not enough anymore. So if you're a manager of a team who is mid-table in the Premier League, you're going to Anfield thinking, do we have it in us to score 2 goals? Because if not, we're going to get beat.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. I think against the bottom half, I expect when a team gets more powerful, they become more and more conservative and more frightened. And the thing we would look to is, do they give up at 1-0 down?
Yes.
The way Newcastle famously supposedly gave up against Leicester at 1 or 2-0. But some of those that are lacking belief and heart, I think, can begin to fold at that level, and that's what we want to see happen.
Well, as you can see, most of that is very positive for Liverpool fans. We are in a good position. Hopefully teams are going to start realising they can't beat us. We're going to have a lot more easy wins, and we can literally cruise our way to the title in May.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah, I think we all know, and we've all been watching football enough to know it's not going to quite pan out like that. But what I would tell you, in the words of Bill Hicks, you've got to enjoy the ride. I know I am. Rob, thanks for joining me again. We'll see you again.